Cold fusion is here. Central bank digital currencies will soon be rolled out, and the metaverse will collapse. These are our key predictions for economies and markets for the year ahead. Let's dive in.
It is a very, 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 very dangerous world, and
we don't have any way of protecting
There's no way
against a big nuclear attack. I know a man who said, "I know what I'm going to do if there's a nuclear war. I'm going to crawl under the table and kiss my ass goodbye."
Well, yeah, and Charlie is in charge of loss control at Berkshire. We have no solution for it.
No, we don't.
And there isn't any solution for it.
On December 13th, 2022, U.S. scientists confirmed what before was thought to be fantasy. As little as a year ago, anyone that mentioned cold fusion, which is really not cold, was laughed at. But as science always turns out to be very limited in its grasp of reality, now the joke is no more. The Guardian wrote, "Scientists have confirmed a major breakthrough has been made that could pave the way for abundant clean energy in the future after more than half a century of research into nuclear fusion." Researchers at the U.S. National Ignition Facility in California said fusion experiments had released more energy than was pumped in by the lab's enormous, high-powered lasers, a landmark achievement known as ignition or energy gain. The technology is far from ready to turn into viable power plants, and is not about to solve the climate crisis, but scientists hailed the breakthrough as evidence that the power of the stars can be harnessed on Earth. Naturally, skepticism remains high, and no so-called serious media outlet would admit that cold fusion is indeed here. But first, what is cold fusion exactly? MIT scientist Lex Fridman, in conversation with nuclear physicist Ian Hutchinson, explained.
Well, fission is taking heavy elements, like uranium, and breaking them up. And it turns out that that process of breaking up heavy elements releases energy.
What does it mean to be a heavy element?
It means that there are many nuclear particles in the nucleus itself, neutrons and protons, in the nucleus itself, so that in the case of uranium, there are 92 protons in each nucleus, and even more neutrons, so that the total number of nucleons in the nucleus, nucleons is short for either a proton or a neutron, the total number, might be 235, that's U-235, or it might be 238, that's U-238. So those are heavy elements. Light elements, by contrast, have very few nucleons, protons, or neutrons in the nucleus. Hydrogen is the lightest nucleus. It has one proton. There are actually slightly heavier forms of hydrogen, isotopes. Deuterium has a proton and a neutron, and tritium has a proton and two neutrons, so it has a total of 3 nucleons in the nucleus. Well, taking light elements like isotopes of hydrogen and not breaking them up, but actually fusing them together, reacting them together to produce heavier elements, typically helium, helium is a nucleus which has 2 protons and 2 neutrons. That also releases energy, and that or reactions like that, making heavier elements from lighter elements, is what mostly powers the sun and stars.
To recap, what we have now in the nuclear power plants is fission, the harnessing of energy from clashing atoms together. Fusion, on the other hand, is the harnessing of energy from the union of atoms. National Geographic wrote that, for more than 60 years, scientists have pursued one of the toughest physics challenges ever conceived, harnessing nuclear fusion, the power source of the stars, to generate abundant clean energy here on Earth. Today, researchers announced a milestone in this effort. For the first time, a fusion reactor has produced more energy than was used to trigger the reaction. This source of energy is not only cleaner and more sustainable, but truly revolutionary for the world's economy. Entire nations built on oil trade, like Russia, the Gulf states, and Venezuela, will have to find new ways to support their economies as fossil fuels may become obsolete. News outlets from around the world are already promoting this form of energy. Chief among them is Bloomberg, which continues to hype up cold fusion. The issue, however, is not entirely one of economics. Geopolitics play a crucial role too. We already mentioned that some of the world's most powerful countries depend on their oil trade. The question facing any major change in the global energy mix is whether these military powers, like Russia, which exports oil, and China, which is the biggest consumer of fossil fuels, will allow it. Our best guess is that the answer is no. Cold fusion is here, but it won't become widely available without a fundamental restructuring of global power. Next, we think that the CBDCs, central bank digital currencies, will be rolled out. The competition from private digital money, like Bitcoin, has proven to governments that they need to urgently reshape the monetary system. However, this is not necessarily a positive thing for individual consumers. CBDCs promise smoother transactions and greater transparency for the government. For the everyday hard-working man and woman, it promises the reverse: tracking of cash flows and possibly less control over their own finances. A 2021 BIS survey of central banks found that 86% are actively researching the potential for CBDCs. 60% were experimenting with the technology and 14% were deploying pilot projects. You can see this in this infographic. As the Bank of International Settlements, or BIS, explains, in simple terms, a central bank digital currency CBDC would be a digital banknote. It could be used by individuals to pay businesses, shops, or each other, a retail CBDC, or between financial institutions to settle trades in financial markets, a wholesale CBDC. Central banks are exploring whether CBDC could help them to achieve their public good objectives, such as safeguarding public trust in money, maintaining price stability, and ensuring safe and resilient payment systems and infrastructure. If successful, CBDCs could ensure that as economies go digital, the general public would retain access to the safest form of money, a claim on a central bank. This could promote diversity in payment options, make cross-border payments faster and cheaper, increase financial inclusion, and possibly facilitate fiscal transfers in times of economic crisis, such as a pandemic. There are many dangers to this development, however. Cato Institute highlights some of them in a publication entitled "Central Bank Digital Currencies and Freedom Are Incompatible." The truth is, CBDCs are government's attempts to protect its privileged position and exert more control over people's money. But money itself is not a public good. The fact that its production has been increasingly encroached upon by the government does not make it a public good. And the fact that something called a CBDC even exists is owed only to payment innovations that occurred in the private market. The real danger in CBDCs is that there is no limit to the level of control that the government could exert over people if money is purely electronic and provided directly by the government. A CBDC would give federal officials full control over the money going into and coming out of every person's account. This level of government control is not compatible with economic or political freedom. However, CBDCs, as the data previously presented shows, are coming. 2023 might be the year we see some of the major economies roll out their CBDCs. The digitalization of money is not the only part of our reality that will become entirely bytes-based. The metaverse aims to swallow every aspect of human interaction in the digital realm, but the prospects for success for Meta's project are dim. Meta says they hope 1 billion people will be plugged into different metaverse platforms, including their own, within the next 10 years. But like the cryptocurrency universe, the metaverse are for now unregulated projects. Once the negative effects of these so-called new economies will be seen, isolation, mental illnesses like addiction, less productive workforce, etc., regulators may think twice of these benefits of these digital realms. The talk right now is about Meta targeting the right audience and delivering something of value to it. But this right audience is none other than the future workforce, young people. The metaverse is a massive black hole for their brains. Instead of developing skills and becoming well-rounded citizens, the promises of this digital paradise will derail young people from becoming their true selves. Many developed economies are already facing severe headwinds from aging demographics. Put simply, as people are living longer, the portion of the population that goes into retirement will continue to grow relative to the population that will have to work harder to support both economic growth and the elders. Given these dynamics, the metaverse has no chance to take off. It will quickly be seen as a major drag on productive workforce and shut down, either fully or partly. Do you agree with these predictions? What do you think 2023 holds for economies and investors? Let us know in the comment section below. Subscribe and like this video for more content like this.